Yes, it is another day. Wonderful, wonderful. Welcome to the Street University. This is where we deal with ignorance, we discipline ignorance. This is where we transform Africa one mind at a time. This is where we make poverty and unemployment a choice and not a sentence. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And I would like you, I know people have written me, they have been waiting for this session. So come on, just share, share, share. Bring your friends, bring your colleagues, bring your enemies, bring everybody on board right now because you are going to learn. And this kind of stuff you're getting here, trust me, it's you're getting it for free, but it's not cheap. Trust me on that one. You're getting it for free, it's not cheap. Hello, Edna. You're very, very welcome. I hope your crew is coming on with you. Where's everybody? Come on, come on, come on. I want to get started very quickly because our speaker is loaded and has so much to tell us, so much to teach us. So welcome. Who else is here? Just sign. Let me know you are here. Dorcas, you're very welcome. You're very, very welcome on board. Dorcas, where's your crew? Get them all on board. You're very welcome. Now, where are the guys? How come it is always the ladies that come first? You know, and this is interesting because when I was growing up, you know, my dad always complained that my mother would never get into the car early enough, you know. And well, I'm not going to talk about my experience because whatever I say can be used against me. Rose, you're welcome. You're welcome. Very, very, very welcome. It's so great to have y'all here. And we are going to learn about consistency, how to just stay relevant, how to stay powerful, no matter what is going on around you. You know, before I bring up Laura, let me tell you a story. Hi, Piki. You are very welcome. Great to have you here. Let me tell you a little story. Many years ago, I had this car. And then, trust me, I'm talking of many, many years ago. Trust me, it was a powerful car. It was a Volvo with a 2.6 liter engine. It was a powerful car then. I'm talking of over 20 something years ago, 30 years ago, possibly. But this car, it looked so good on the outside. It looked so good. And everything was good with my car as long as it was on flat land or it was going downhill. But anytime we tried to go uphill, my car would give up the ghost. It just did not have the capacity for going uphill. It was not consistent. It did not have the capacity to go uphill. We would do all sorts of things. You know, my person driving me would drive in a zigzag fashion, hoping we would make it to the top. You know, and a lot of people are like that. They're okay on flat land. They're okay when they're driving down. But when they are moving up and challenges come and they have to climb, they crumble. They don't know how to deal with it. All right. And that's why we're having a session like this, because I've known our speaker for so many years. I've seen her up, I've seen her down, but I have always, she has maintained the consistency. I mean, I got another car after that. My goodness, a beautiful machine, you know, a German machine that was made specially for me, you know, and you put it, you know, the cruise control, and you just let it go on, whether it's going up or down, it is same speed, you know? So we want to be like that, cruise control, all right? And that's why we're having this session today. So ladies and gentlemen, most of you already know her. You know, most of you already know her. People were sending messages and all that. So let's put our hands together for the CEO of Benchmark. Let's put our hands together for Laura. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Yeah, Laura the Diva. How are you, my dear?
Very well, Mr. Mentor. How are you?
Yeah, Laura is the only one on the face of the earth who calls me Mr. Mentor. She has been calling me that for like 10 years. She calls me Mr. Mentor.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. For good
Wow.
reasons.
You are so welcome and you're looking so beautiful as always.
Thank
Mm.
you. Thank you, Doc.
How is the family?
Family is well.
Mhm.
Not complaining. Excuse me if you see the little ones running in and out of the live broadcast. So that's a caveat. But everyone is well. Mark is well as well. Thank you for
Mark
asking.
is well.
Yes, he
Wow.
is.
At some point during this conversation, we're going to talk about Mark, you know.
Happy to do that. Happy to do that. If
All
you're
right.
lucky, you'll pop in.
All right. Awesome. Now, somebody put up something on the Street University page earlier on today, and it was about the deal you did with the government of South Sudan, where
Right.
you were able to mobilize 9 billion shillings, was it? $90 million for South Sudan. Tell us about that.
Right. Thank you, Doc. So that is one of our service offerings. Allow me to take a minute to just describe what our intervention is. So as Benchmark Solutions, we are members of the international loan markets. Our affiliates include international policy banks, commercial banks, high net worth individuals who have an appetite to deploy either debt or equity into African governments or African state-owned enterprises, African financial institutions, so banks, microfinancial institutions, SACCOs, and also privately owned entities, medium and large-sized companies in particular. So as Benchmark, we have operations in over 18 African countries, as you rightly said, South Sudan being one of them. Um, and South Sudan being a very young nation that is really committed to promote peace through development and financing their government budgets, we were privileged and remain very privileged to work and work with them until today to garner support from the international finance community to be able to support their different projects and government processes like the budgetary support you just mentioned. So that is one of the transactions we were very honored to participate in. Of course, I do not work alone. I have a team of 62 other colleagues who work with me from a day-to-day basis across the different jurisdictions I've mentioned. So since then, we've done quite a bit. The figure has changed, but it's good to note that some of your esteemed students are paying attention to some of the interventions we have been privileged to underwrite.
So you are in 18 countries.
Yes.
Now, this is what fascinates me
Mhm.
because the very first time we met many years ago at the YMCA,
Yes.
you were you stood out, okay? And but how did you go from that young lady that came to YMCA?
Dr. Wale, did I lose you?
All right. Oh, sorry about that. Okay. I was asking how, when I met you at YMCA, you were that young lady starting off almost in tears, occasional tears, you know,
Yes.
and now you are talking of billions of, shillings, dollars that you're working with. You're talking of a team of 62 people. How did you get here?
It's quite a profound question, Dr. Wali. I'm actually quite impressed that you remember our first encounter very many years ago. But I must recognize that first and foremost, it has been nothing but the grace of God. So it is extremely key. I remember a couple of years back, we have operations in the Middle East as well, and I had the the honor to be interviewed. And when I said that, and it was cut out from my interview. So I am not embarrassed. I am not ashamed to give credit where it is due. This far has been nothing but the grace of God. Now, of course, starting out as a young entrepreneur, there are several, and look, Dr. Wali, I have failed 1,000 times and I have succeeded less than 10% of those times. So for every success that is put out there, my goodness, and you being Mr. Mentor, you have had front row visibility into quite a bit of my success and my failures. Now, back then, starting out as a young entrepreneur, of course, I needed a lot of direction and a lot of support and a lot of both technical assistance, financial assistance. But one thing over and above the grace of God, Dr. Wale, has been the support system that I've mentioned, and mentorship has been extremely critical and crucial in the path that I have taken. I remember starting out, I really tried to come up with a standard of measure of the business I wanted to set up, of the person I wanted to become as a woman in business, as an African woman in business, as a young woman in business. And part of the greatest highlights and joys in my journey has been having people to hold my hand, really. You, Dr. Wale, being one of them, I have been privileged to sit under your counsel as a mentee, something that is not quite forthcoming, in this time and age. I've had the privilege of being mentored by others besides yourself, Dr. Wale. I remember in 2015, under the invitation of the United States State Department, I was privileged to be invited into a mentorship program that was supported by Bank of America. And in that particular year, Bank of America, through the mentorship program, provided us with technical experts who enabled me to put together and review our business plan, our strategic plan as Benchmark Solutions. So I cannot underestimate the importance of that support, the mentorship, the technical assistance, the grace of God, a family that keeps praying for you and allowing you to win and rooting for you. So that in a sentence, I have more to say on that, but in a sentence, I would really sum it as that.
So let me ask, when you began this journey,
Yes.
did you see yourself where you are today, or did you just find yourself here? Is it something you deliberately began to work towards, that by 2021, this is where I want to be, so I will do A, B, C, D, E?
Right. So as Benchmark Solutions, this is our 15th year in business, believe it or not. It's been 15 years already. I am right on track, aligned with the vision that I had and the projection that I had for myself and for Benchmark. Now, I didn't go into business as Benchmark Solutions, Dr. Wale. My stint in entrepreneurship, frankly, started at the age of 12. I grew up on a farm, And I'm sure this is the same in West Africa as it is in East Africa and across the continent. As an African man, my late dad, who was a senior civil servant for very many years, we reared cattle. We had a farm with, vegetables and farm animals. And for him, that was his pride as an African man. We would have relatives, aunties coming in, and they would all leave with a basket of fresh produce and fresh milk. And it really used to bother me. So I tasked my dad, my parents, and I said, look, Dad, is it possible for us to commercialize this thing? Why do people walk in and out with fresh produce? And I see fresh produce, either vegetables or dairy. And he challenged me. And I was 12, I was on holiday, on school holiday. And he said, what do you have in mind? Now, at the time, I didn't know what value addition is, but I knew milk can be transformed into yogurt and cheese and other dairy products. So at the age of 12, my mother enrolled me, believe it or not, into a tertiary institution in the CBD. So I learned how to make yogurt and I learned how to make maziwa mala. I did not know what value addition was, and I did not know what a market is. I just knew there are hotels who would consume maziwa mala, which is fermented milk, Dr. Wale, and the yogurt. And a couple of our family friends, either in church or neighbors, were consuming these products. And I came up with a price. And we started, my parents were kind enough to mobilize some funds to buy a milking machine. I did not know what commercializing a business meant at the time, but I knew for us to be able to meet the demand, we needed more than one milkman. So that was the machine. So my stint in entrepreneurship, Dr. Wale, was at a very young age. And at that point in time, I got into a revenue share agreement. Now I know it's called a revenue share agreement, but back in the day, I told my folks, you know what, for every 100 shillings you make, 40 is mine. So it was a 60%, 40% kind of arrangement. And alongside my siblings, we quickly rallied in and reined in. My brother was the designated delivery man. Dad got him a pickup. He was running around doing the deliveries. Besides the milk and yogurt and the fancy stuff, Dr. Wale, we also sold manure, to at the time. I mean, I grew up in Runda, but at that particular point in time, Runda was not necessarily what it is today. It was quite a bit of coffee plantations around our neighborhood, and we got down into business. And frankly, that was my first taste into entrepreneurship, and the rest is history.
So somebody who has just listened to you, who maybe grew up under different circumstances, what would you tell that person they need to focus on in order to move on? Because one thing I've found out, and but I just want to hear it from you also, is that you can take somebody from Mutaiga, take somebody from Madare, take somebody from my village in Nigeria, take somebody from Banana Island in Lagos. Now, when they arrive at a certain point in success in their lives, they will tell you exactly the same principles. That is one thing that has always fascinated me. And that's why I believe that success always leaves clues. So, if you are going to tell that person who has heard you now and has that dream that, wow, I want to set up something awesome like this, what are those principles, key pillars in the journey that will get them there? I know you've talked of mentorship, but what other pillars can you point to that will help them get there?
One of the most basic questions to ask yourself, is what do you have in your hands? In your current situation, and one of the stories that stand out for me, and again, Dr. Wale, sorry if I'm referencing the Bible too much. When
No,
you look
please,
at the
that's what we do here. Go ahead.
Amen, kingdom business, right? One of
Absolutely.
the stories that stand out for me is a story of Moses, in the book of Exodus. Moses had a rod in his hand. To Moses, all he had was a rod, and he thought it was a useless stick. So I want to challenge our audience today, Dr. Wale, and ask them, what do you have in your hands? For me at the time, we had a shamba, a farm, and cows staring back at me, Now, back to the story of Moses. While Moses saw it as a rod, God saw it as a tool to perform miracles. Right? So today, in your current state, in your current shape and form, is all you have an education? Is all you have 1,000 shillings? Is it just 5,000 friends on Facebook or 1,000 friends on Facebook? And how best can you use whatever you have in your hands, as little as it might be? Because in this generation, Dr. Wale, most of our millennials, think a million shillings will fall from somewhere and then you get started. Absolutely not. You and I know that is not true. So what do you have in your hands? Do you have a piece of farm that is idle back at home where your parents are residing? Do you have a group of friends who you can rally together and talk to them about your belief and your vision, and they can support you in that regard? So the moment we answer the question, what do we have in our hands? If it is a rod, what can this rod do? That rod, Moses used it to strike the stone and water came out. He used the rod to part the sea and they were able to walk through. So what do you have in your hands? Do you have access to a mentor like Dr. Wale, who can afford you with the tools and empower you to be able to get started? So the moment we answer that question, Dr. Wale, we need to write that down. And you know what? You taught me that something happens when you put pen to paper. When you start to write down whatever assets, because those are real assets, quote unquote assets that you have. And once we list those down, we can critique. This is helpful, this may not be helpful. And from there, we can get started and keep moving. There's a lot of technical assistance that is out there. I mean, the great lessons and broadcasts, Dr. Wale, and the great speakers that you bring on board who are willing to collaborate with you to support each and every student under the Street University. Let's take note of what is within our reach, because everything we need, we have it. It is right inside of us.
Wow. You mentioned, Laura, that you are on track. All right. When you look at where you are, you're on track. Now, I am aware that you have gone through some bumps along the way. So, how can you be on track if you have gone through a lot of, I mean, you've gone through a lot of, more than your fair share of battering and failure. I am aware of that. So, how have you been able to stay on track in spite of all that?
Question that I always ask myself, that gets me out of bed or keeps me awake at night, is why did I get started?
Mm.
Why do we do what we do? I mean, in the recent past, we do some work in Zimbabwe, and I had finished a meeting in one of the multilateral banks, And when I was waiting for my ride to take me back to the hotel, just at the bottom of this particular commercial building, I ran into some university students. They could easily have been between the age of 14 and 17. And they were high, it was right, the sun was, high up there. And they were asking me for something, give us something, madam, give us something, madam. And, there was a restaurant across, and I walked with them into that restaurant, and I spent some time with them. And these are decent young men, Dr. Wale, who our institutions have failed. Some of our intervention in Zimbabwe is to see how best we can mitigate the unemployment rate through redefining their renewable energy sector. So how many young people can we get into employment of all the foreign contracts that the government has signed? When I remember those young people and the hunger and thirst, that they have to make a future for themselves, to redefine and retell the story of Africa, that is what keeps me up at night. So regardless of the noise around me, actually call it noise, these are some of the things that really force me to stay on track, to stay on the narrative, and to keep thriving and striving to transform Africa. So every country that we are invited to, every transaction that we are invited into, our investment partners will tell you, besides putting money on the table for the government, we want to know, how many schools are you building? How many dispensaries are you building? Are you going to dig up a borehole? Are you going to sponsor some students? That's the extra mile that we task in our very small capacity to ensure that every assignment that has come our way, beyond what is high level, we go down to the critical details of how else can our supportive partners make a difference in our land. So that keeps me focused, that keeps me on track, that keeps me awake at night.
Amazing. I love the comment from Colleen here that the why is very critical. And that's what we are seeing, that it is, you have a very strong sense of purpose. Now, how do you deal with, because as you rise, every little thing you do becomes news or gossip, And I remember once when you got into trouble with social media because it was your husband's birthday and you decided to buy him a V8. And it became the number one trending topic in the country. And I remember I told you, don't worry, Kenyans, we all have an appetite for news, that after a few days it will go. But, so everything you do becomes gossip or news. How do you maintain your focus? How do you maintain your focus when, like you call it, the noise is going on? Have there been times when you got discouraged? How did you deal with the discouragement?
I mean, absolutely. Every day of the week, there's something to water down your spirits. There's something that would discourage you, and you know what, you would want to just curl up under a stone and just sit there for a moment. Now, the story you've referenced in 2015, frankly, 2015 was the best year for many reasons for me, Dr. Wale, and not because of the story you have referenced. I mean, Can my husband buy a VX for himself? Absolutely. Can I buy socks for him? Absolutely. But among everything else that did not make it to the noise, I had the honor, Dr. Wale, of receiving support from the Fortune 500 state program. And I've mentioned that is the year that Bank of America provided this group of mentees, including myself, with technical partners, to be able to redefine, and define and redefine the direction that I was going to take as a woman in business, and growing and scaling my African business, my homegrown business. That is the same year that, as benchmark, we collaborated with your good friend George Washiori of Optiven, and we built houses for the elderly. Of course, that is not sensational news. That is not fun. So it won't make it to the cover page. I mean, between a personal gift and some of the great interventions that we have been privileged to make. It's the same year that I received a Financial Warrior Award that was presented to me by the then Director General of the African Development Bank. Of course, that is not sensational, and it doesn't make it out there. So, starting out, Dr. Wale, as you know, I was extremely naive. I still don't look at myself or see myself as newsworthy, frankly. I'm an introvert. I'm as an introverted as it gets. And, there were so many bites that would try to get me engaged and etc. And I have business associates, and colleagues, institutions that we work with, several associates who had gone through much worse than I did, and they were like, you know what, Laura, get over it. I remember the first thing you told me when we spoke about that was, you know what, get over it. I mean, there's bigger fish to fry. So the idea is to have a support system that calls you out on nonsense, allow me to use that word, and really quickly help you snap back into what's important. I remember my great mentors out of the US, they called and they said, look, Laura, we have such and such assignments at stake. You cannot begin to start addressing things at that level. So of course there's discouragement, Dr. Wale, at a personal level, at a professional level. For me, the greatest, that was nothing compared to other discouragements or low points in my life. I've mentioned a couple of times that losing my father remains very raw until today. And, just trusting God, and such a strong support system that I have, from family and friends and mentors like yourselves, keep me going. Our clients keep me going. The real problems in the world keep me going, because there's still so much more that needs to be done. So I cannot take center stage. I just needed to grow thick skin, just keep it well moisturized and keep going.
Awesome. Now, so when I listen to you, you sound like the kind of person we would love to see making decisions on behalf of our nations. So, what is the future like? Is public service in the horizons? Come on, break some news here.
There are several ways to serve the nation. I think, of course, I am married into a political family and a husband that is very passionate about politics. But my conviction as a woman in business, I have the privilege. I sit in several decision-making institutions at a policy level that influence the day-to-day operations of several critical state-owned enterprises. So in my personal capacity as a woman in business, as a citizen, there's quite a lot that my current positioning allows me to use my voice, I mean, Dr. Wale, when you sit up and ask a government, how much do you need? If you're writing the check, really, if you say one or two things, they pay attention and they listen to you. So in those small working groups, we are able to voice and really mention what is representative of the Kenyan youth, of the African youth, if it is at either the regional level at the East African Community or at the Pan-African level at the African Union. So I'm already involved. I'm very actively engaged in my individual capacity as a woman in business, not necessarily as a woman representative. There are others who are gifted in that, and more power to them. And I encourage more and more of us to get into those spaces.
Absolutely, because I think when you talk of some of the things you've been able to do, I see the importance of agreements between governments, creating the space for us to do some of the things we do. Now, you work in many countries, and one of the things I've found out, I've worked in 22 African countries, and one of the things I discovered is that a lot of people miss out on opportunities because they don't have cross-cultural thinking. I've seen people, even from Nigeria, come to Kenya, and then they begin to say things like, oh, these people, they are not doing this. Then I see Kenyans go to Tanzania, and they say, oh, these people are slow, and yada, yada, yada. And I'm thinking, it's not going to work if you cannot afford to do business in Tanzania with a Kenyan mindset. So how have you been able to develop this cross-cultural mindset that has enabled you to work in different places? How have you been able to do that?
Right. So right when I went into business in university, I went to USIU. I tend to think that for instance, from an educational level, the cosmopolitan atmosphere, today we do work in Nigeria, we do work in Ghana, we do work in South Sudan, Rwanda, Uganda, Tanzania. I have former classmates spread across the continent. So first and foremost, that particular interaction, and it doesn't have to be USIU. When you go to Nairobi University today, we have students from across the board. It's very important to establish relationships and understand these different cultures. When we are setting up to step into a new market, one of the very first things I do, Dr. Wale, when I land into the capital city, I wear my gumboots, dress down, and I go to the local market. I want to understand the needs of our people from the mass market perspective. I want to speak to Mama Mboga in Djibouti. I want to understand what their pressure points are. I want to understand the opportunities in that particular market. And based on that, because we work at a policy level, but for me, for my colleagues, it's extremely crucial for us to be able to ensure that our intervention is very relevant. Today, Dr. Wale, as benchmark, we do some work with the East African community. Now, these are several nations put together. But as an entrepreneur, I need to be very aware that the East African community provides me as an entrepreneur an opportunity to serve 400 million people. That is a modest expression of the number of people available in the East African market. So if you're in products or services, we need to know and stop looking at our market or our target audience at your local level. You're no longer serving Nairobi. You're no longer serving Kenya. I mean, when I started out, we did not have such aggressive opportunities and that stand out that are being provided by social media. At the time, I needed to have an office in Uganda and Tanzania and Rwanda and. Today, we can centralize our operations and serve the world from one location. So these are the opportunities that are afforded today. Task yourself, understand, when I'm doing business in Dubai, basics, how do I dress as a woman? It is during Ramadan period and the different festivities. How do I shake a Muslim man's hand? Do I just bow? So it's extremely important to deal with our ignorance as a basic step. Then once we understand what different markets require, what different people are yearning for, then we can be able to customize our products and services in a manner, package them in a manner that is palatable and ready to be received by the global market that is now at our disposal.
Wow, fantastic. You are one of those few people that come into my library and say you want a book, and I can't say no. What role has reading played in shaping your worldview?
I cannot overemphasize. I mean, I'm a book junkie, and I'm the person who, reading and swiping left doesn't work for me. The smell of paper, the touch of a book.
You. The smell of paper. Thank you. Underlining. Thank you.
That's everything for me. I mean, and your books, Dr. Wali. What I love about your books, I can feel when I'm boarding, for instance, a flight from here to Kampala. I've read your book and I've finished, and I'm on to the next one. So how you summarize it is such a compact tool, between here and your next destination. You have read through, taken your notes, and revisit it in a different setting. So lessons from people who have gone ahead of us, like yourself, Dr. Wale. I'm currently reading The Promised Land by former President Barack. And there's so much. I mean, I'm such a slow reader because I read taking notes and going back, and trying to understand what were the lessons that I could pick up from there. So there's so much useful information in books written by people like yourself, Dr. Wale, who went ahead of us, who continue to set the standard and provide solutions for so many issues that we are facing today that are relevant to equip us to be able to go to the next level.
Oh, wow. Thank you for your kind words. Oh, wow. Thank you so much. I write books for people like me. I get bored so easily, so I write books. The print is big.
Yes.
And I write books for people like me, exactly what you said. So I can get on a plane, read it, and I'm done. One of my most humbling moments ever, I was in the VIP lounge at the airport, and I looked, and there were 3 different people reading 3 of my books.
Amazing. That's powerful. Amazing.
Oh my goodness. It was just a humbling moment. Laura, do you have this one, Beyond Intelligence?
Of course I do.
Oh, wow. Okay, I was thinking of what
Of
to
course
give
I
you. Okay, I'll find.
You will have to write another one, then send it to me.
Okay, I was thinking of what to give you. Now,
Right.
so what is there are some people watching us right now, their business is at level 3
Mhm.
and they want to scale. What does a business that wants to scale, how do they begin the process?
Very good question. And this is a process I underwent with you, Dr. Wale, very many years ago. Now, for a business that wants to scale, again, it is important to take an audit. And I'm not asking that you bring in the big guns, PwC, KPMG, Deloitte. No. As an entrepreneur, as a vision bearer, take some time out and meet with yourself and have a very candid interaction and discussion with yourself. Take an audit of the business, of the strengths that your business showcases. Ask yourself, what are the weaknesses of my business? What are the threats, to my business? Is it COVID-19? Do I need to find a way to position my business digitally as opposed to the brick and mortar that we were used to before the pandemic came into play? What are the opportunities that the world today, that the market, the target audience affords your business today? And when we answer these questions in a very truthful manner, that is half the job done. When we are able to define the critical aspects that affect and influence our businesses in a very, very truthful manner, that even, when you go to the doctor, you strip yourself naked and you say, this is who I am. So when we strip our businesses naked and try to understand what are the pressure points of the business, is it cash flow? Yes. Okay, who are the paymasters into my business? Are they paying me? Are they not paying me? Are they delaying to make payments with me, to my business? How can I collaborate with, for instance, my bankers? For example, if my cash flow is taking longer than expected to trickle in, how do I need to redefine my product offering to ensure that I'm mitigating the gaps and traps that my business is falling into? Dr. Wale, benchmark venturing into other countries. I never sat down somewhere and said, look, in 2021, we need to be in such and such number of countries. Our growth has been purely customer driven. Very many years ago, and one of the, as Benchmark Solutions, before we even transformed into a financial services company, Deloitte, for instance, was one of the companies that we served in Kenya. And when they were strengthening, for instance, the operations in Ethiopia, their Kenyan team introduced us to their Ethiopian team, and they said, look, we get such and such kind of support and service offerings from Benchmark in Kenya. Would you consider? So, for instance, that was our very first entry into the Ethiopian market. So the moment in our very small capacity, we are able to serve our customers in a manner that they can tell a friend and tell a colleague and tell a friend and tell another friend, it makes our work easier. If you want to go in a totally new country that you haven't been before, you do not have customers with affiliation in those countries, as an entrepreneur, I started with the man at the door, with the watchman. I remember when we took a risk, for instance, to set up in Rwanda, we did not know anyone in Rwanda. Based on our research, we knew that the Rwanda Development Board was encouraging investors, new businesses to set up there. And they had this program where you can register your business in a day. What did Laura do? I jumped into Rwanda Air. I was there, and true to the word, in a day our business was registered, and then we've been able to do work there based on that basic entrance by starting with the information that we have in our hands. Again, back to the question that you had asked, Dr. Wale, on how do we get started. So if all we have is also information that the neighboring country has such a need, they have such an initiative, and this is how they want to encourage entrepreneurs, etc. If information is what you have, get started and use that information to move your business, your vision to the next level.
Amazing, amazing, the amazing Laura. You never cease to inspire. You know, this is my last question. Then, you are a very powerful woman. There's a belief out there that you can't have it all. You can't have a great career and a great home. But you seem to have it all. How have you been able to manage a career that sees you in the air most of the time? And I've seen you and Mark over the years. I've seen a very loving, submissive wife. How do you, out there, you are the boss lady, and then you've balanced everything so well. How did you pull that off?
So I do not have it all, Dr. Wale.
No, when I say have it all, I'm talking in the context of a successful career and a great home. Yes.
Absolutely, absolutely. First and foremost, thank you for your kind words. I must reiterate that I'm still work in progress. I have not yet arrived as a woman in business, even in my own home, in my own marriage. It takes a lot of work. Now, I am married to my friend. Look, I'm 34 years old now. I have known Mark since I was a teenager. I mean, we didn't start dating back in the day, but I'm married to my friend, When I went into business, Mark was studying away from Kenya. And I actually keep telling him, I think my room to grow as an entrepreneur has a lot to do with not being tied down by a demanding boyfriend at the time. Now, I am very clear, Dr. Wale, and as you know, I'm very spiritual, and biblical principles are at the forefront of everything I do. In my house, I am not a boss. Mark is the boss. Mark is the king in my home. He is the man in my home, and I was very clear. By the time I was settling in marriage, I was doing what I'm doing now. But the support that, for instance, in my marriage, my husband affords me, Mark is not afraid of allowing me to shine. For example, he is my biggest cheerleader. I hope he comments, because I'm sure he's also busy scouting around to listen to what we have to say. So the idea is really being present in our marriage, in our homes, being present in our workplaces, what our roles are, the support that we need to afford each other in our institutions, and again, just the humility of understanding that everything that has been placed in my hands is a tool. It is a gift. It is not. am not, it's not an entitlement, really. So just being aware of what my role at work is, what my role as a business and as a woman business is. But when I go home, I need to take care of my children. I need to take care of my husband. I need to take care of my nuclear family, my extended family as well. When I go to my mother's house, I'm still washing dishes, you know. She's the queen, she's a matriarch, you know, in that particular home. So it's really understanding the different hats that we wear and when to propel one and when to step back and really ensure that we are playing our part in a very deliberate manner, always, for me.
Where does humility come from? You have tons of it. I was on a TV interview earlier on today and saying that, you know, new money shouts, but true wealth whispers. And I found out that the people that really have the money try to downplay. Those that don't exaggerate it. Where did your humility come from? How did you get here with all, where?
And I get that question a lot, and even couple of media publications, you know, when they reference me, they say the humble Laura, you know. Humility does not mean weakness for me. For me, humility exudes a lot of power, you know. If I drive into a building and I'm very rude to the security man, chances are that he will frustrate my entrance into that place. But for me, I know if I am humble, you know, habari ndugu, uko salama, are you okay? How is work? He rolls the red carpet out for me as the serviceman at the gate. So for me, humility, besides acknowledging that for sure there's nothing as Laura that qualifies me to sit in the tables that I sit in, to be party to the decisions that I'm privileged to be part of. It is the grace of God, and He can take it any day, you know, and using just that humility as a tool. It has worked. It is inborn again. We grew up. My father pulled up himself by his bootstraps from the Kisii Highlands, and you know, strived, got scholarships into Edinburgh in Scotland, came back and served as a very senior civil servant in the office of the president at the time of his death through humility, you know. That was a very deliberate tool that was handed down to us by our parents, and it has worked. It has worked in recognizing where power resides and how we can use humility as a tool to get what we want done faster.
Wow, Laura, the comments are just, people say, Silver says, I absolutely love her. Dorcas says, I love that. Have a meeting with yourself. You know, people are in love with you. Vicky says, Laura, you are the queen. Dama says, humility does not mean weakness. Oh, I love it. So you are really striking a chord and making a connection with people here today. Now we've come to the end, and I would like you to give your parting shot to people, and then also talk about the Reimagine Yourself program that we run, and your experience from a one-on-one perspective.
Short, and you know, of course, Dr. Wale, these are unprecedented times that we live in. Regardless of who you are or where you're from, we are having to unlearn so many things and learn how to adjust and do things in the new normal, Now, we need to take responsibility for everything that happens in our lives. One of the mantra that I have is, if it is to be, it is up to me. If it is to be, it is up to me. If I choose to stay in bed and curl in bed tomorrow and not leave, of course, my dreams die under the blankets. But if I dare to dream and dare to aspire, and dare to go and knock on doors that are shut, some doors are not shut, some are just too heavy to push into. So being very aware that everything that we want is in our reach, and the decision resides with us. Where we are today, so many of us have lost so much, and we might be discouraged and think that there's no end in sight of the troubles we are facing. It's important to press the reset button if we have to. I have no shame in starting over. And if I need to start over and press the reset button every day, I will do that every day of my life. So press the reset button at any point in your life. Doesn't matter if you're 60 or 30 or 10 or 20. If you feel the need to start again, it's your world, my queens. It is your world, my kings. We can start over at any point in time that we deem fit, any day of the week. We unapologetically, without asking anybody questions, right? Now, on the Reimagine Yourself program, and Dr. Wale have mentioned that one of the privileges that I have had in my life is to have the knowledge and the assurances that I am chasing my dreams, but as and when I need to turn around and catch a breath and reimagine myself, I have a mentor such as yourself to turn to. And the tools that you have provided to myself and many others, over the years have assisted us to get started, to remain consistent, to deal with the highs and the lows and the plateauing. And, we come and recharge and run back to the war zone, and keep running and keep going after our dreams. I do not take it for granted. And on behalf of so many others, I can only thank you and ask that God continue blessing you and allow you many more days and an opportunity like the Reimagine Yourself program. I mean, I know you can only take a limited number of people at a time. I want to challenge the students in this platform to take a look at the Reimagine Yourself program. It is extremely informative. Again, the tools and the information that the program affords you can only set you up for the next level. Thank you for that.
Thank you so much, Laura. And we had this package that we were giving out, ladies and gentlemen. Discount we were giving to our members at the Street University. We're giving a 75% off the corporate rate. So if you are here right now and you send me an email, you want to be part, I think we have a few slots left for the month of May. It's 4 sessions. If you want to be a part of that Reimagine Yourself program in the month of May, we give you a 75% discount. So instead of paying $1,200, you pay $300. Send me an email right now, wale@thestreetuniversity.com, and we will send you the package. Cynthia will reach out to you and will schedule you for your sessions. All right. Now, before we go today, I want to do something. We have another guest here who you met last time, and that is Sharon. Now, for those of you who don't know Sharon, we have a program which we have run in a place called Madare. And in that program, my vision was simply to empower young people. And the thinking was, my philosophy is, if you change their thinking and their mind leaves the slums, then their body will follow. And so we go to Madare and we start. And the most current class that we had, we're having them. And sometimes we've taken these people. Laura has supported us a bit in some of that. We have spent so much money, empowering these young people. And so we brought Sharon here for you on sometime last week. And well, she's here again. What she doesn't know. Hello, Sharon. How are you?
I'm fine. What about you?
Very, very well. Now, what Sharon does not know, is that we have a little gift for her today. We have a little gift. So I just told Laura, you're still there. I told Sharon to come. She does not know what we have for her today. Sharon inspired me that during COVID, we're talking on pandemic streams, and during COVID, Sharon in Madare began to make deras for people, and she was making up to 6,000 shillings every single week. Is it every week, Sharon? Wow. So, but she has a lot of responsibilities. There is Mama there. There's a very big family. You have Mama has 10 children, I think it is. So there's a lot of responsibility on her. So we decided, and she just started doing that, and she would go pay somebody to use their sewing machine. So Yemi, please bring out the little present that the Street University have gotten for Sharon. Where is it? Yemi, roll it out. So Sharon, this is from our members at the Street University.
Sorry.
We want to see it. Sharon, you never have to pay anybody to use their sewing machine ever again.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I didn't expect this.
I know you didn't expect it.
Thank you so much.
Oh wow. So there we go. So that everybody knows there is a sewing machine inside there. Let's have a look. All right. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you for those who contributed today. And this is exciting. We are so grateful, and we are so happy. There we go. So Sharon, that's all yours, my dear. All yours.
Dr.
Okay.
Wale.
Excellent. So thank you, everybody. And guys, let me tell you our next step. Yes, Laura.
Sorry, I just have some questions coming in. People want you to repeat the packages for being a student into the Imagine Yourself program.
Imagine Yourself.
You hear me?
Go through that one more time.
Thank you.
All right. It's a $1,200 package, but anybody that registers on this platform will get a 75% off. Instead of paying $1,200, you will pay $300. And those are 4 one-on-one sessions where we typically help you to reimagine yourself, develop your plan going forward. So you have, we all people know how to develop strategic plans for their business, but not for their life. So that's what we want to do with you. So that's the
one thing of that, Dr. Wale. So I want to allow me, through you and through your permission, from our audience today, I want to sponsor 2 students. I want you to, and look, you be our guide. Let us know 2 beneficiaries from my humble support. I will be more than happy to support up to 2 students who are with us today to spend up to 4 sessions with yourself. And after that, I would love to get together with them and understand and exchange lessons and learnings that they would have garnered from the one-on-one sessions with you. So let me know. You know how we can get in touch.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that, Laura. Thank you. You have always been so wonderful. Thank you. I will let you know that. I will let you know those 2 students right away. One of them, I think, has quickly shouted me. That's so we have the first one. I'll let you know who the second one is when they indicate. Sure. And my good friend Dorcas is here. All right. Good. So Sylvia Esther is the second one. So we have the 2, Lorraine and Sylvia.
Got it.
Okay. So we have the 2. My good friend Dorcas, how are you, Dorcas? It's so good to have you here. And ladies and gentlemen, I want to just thank everybody. This has been phenomenal. I'm happy for the support for Sharon. And I told you we're even working on something else. We're in the process of now laying the foundation work for building a halfway home. So as we get people from Madare, we have a halfway home. After we have trained them, we have a halfway home where we put them for about 3 months as they can, their money can accumulate, and then they can move from there and get their own place. So it will be like a conveyor belt. That's what we're working on. So once again, thank you everybody for this phenomenal session. Laura, I don't have enough words to just thank you. Thank you so much for being here, Laura, and for your amazing wisdom. And then for sponsoring 2 people for the Reimagine Yourself program. And then not only do they get sponsored, and I'll connect them with you after. Wow. Don't get better than that. So everybody, I'm grateful. And tonight, for those of you, let me say bye to everybody, but those of you who know where to meet me at the Spiritual Intelligence class at 9 p.m. on Wale Akinyemi Resource page, 9 p.m. I'm going to keep talking tonight about the abundant mind. So look forward to seeing you there. And I look forward to my new mentees who are coming on board. Those who didn't get the Laura package, send me an email. You still have a great deal, 75%. Wale@thestreetuniversity.com. And till we meet again, keep winning.